palms everywhere, and people were excited more than this, and they were throwing their clothes on the floor and they were waving the palms, and the sky had to have been filled with the color green just from the palms. It was an amazing sight. And for a little while, for a short time, maybe a day or maybe an hour, the people weren't afraid. For just a little while, they thought Jesus was going to cure everything. And they weren't afraid of the Roman soldiers, and they weren't afraid of the Pharisees, and they weren't afraid of getting in trouble, because here was their God. And they knew what it was like not to be afraid. So of course they cheered and screamed, and I would too. I would probably be screaming more than anybody. And then pretty soon things started to change. And the people watched Jesus not take over the temple. And pretty soon, the people realized that the Pharisees were still there. And the Sadducees were still there. And there were probably Roman soldiers. And there were many things. And all of a sudden, life came back. And they became afraid again. But this time, they were mad. Because now this Jesus who had come to town and was going to fix everything must have betrayed them. Because now he wasn't. And so the God that they decided was king, now they decided he was the criminal. The people decided they were going to be the judges and God would be the criminal. And they were sad and mad, and most of all, scared. And so they gathered around, and they did what we're going to study later. But for this moment, I tell you, on Palm Sunday, they knew what it felt like not to be afraid. And the reason this place is important to me is because it's so me. I can get so excited about something. I can think the whole world is wonderful. And I'm excited, and I'm jumping, and I'm dancing. Probably don't know what I'm doing. And I promise everybody around that I will do this. Oh, let me volunteer here. Of course I will do this. Of course I will do that. Let me convince you that you want to do this. And I can do all of those things. And then a day goes by and I think, I can't do those things. I can't make those promises. And maybe after all, well, maybe God really didn't say that thing. And geez, maybe God let me down. Because I can't admit you let me down. So it must have been God. And then I'm depressed and dejected. And so when I was reading about this, something brand new, and I've been brought up Lutheran too, I know the stories, but Bo Geertz, my friend, told me something new. Do you know that when Jesus came in on the donkey or the colt or whatever it was, when he came into the temple, and when all the people were cheering and triumphing, do you know what Jesus was doing? Does anybody know what Jesus was doing? He was crying. Jesus was crying. And he wasn't crying because he was upset. He wasn't crying for any of those things. Jesus wasn't mad at the people. When we do wrong, Jesus isn't mad. Now, I'm a really emotional person. I have problems with highs and lows, and I fail God so often. But Jesus was crying, and not because he's mad at me, not because he wishes I'd done better, because he only knows how much I hurt when I fail. Jesus knows how much I hurt when I failed and let you down, or let my family down, or let me down. And when I find I've let God down, I fall on the floor. But the good news is this: I don't let God down. I don't let God down. I can't. God doesn't get mad at me.
Amen.
He just doesn't. Because one time when he was here, he cried. But now he doesn't cry anymore. Now he sees me. And he says, Ann, I'm looking at you. I'm holding you right here in my hands. And I feel that you're dejected. I feel you're hurt. And I know you even think you've been betrayed. And in all these things, he's holding me really close. Have you ever had your face held by someone who loves you? God says to me, Ann, it's okay. Put it down. I'm not going to tell you not to feel this way because I made those feelings. I won't tell you that. But I will tell you, Ann, I'm not crying anymore. And one day you won't cry anymore. Now, I don't know how to end that exciting thing, except here's the good news. You can't let God down.
Amen.
You can't let God down. God knows what you're doing. God has cried tears over you. And now God is triumphing over us.
Woo! Yeah.